Don't do it! It's evil!
Prohibition, they say. Yeah, the board of directors wanted to stick to the theme. All right. They do not seem to understand just how difficult this job is, and how the chairman needs a little,
Water!
assistance now and then, shall we say?
Speak easy!
That's too far up the road. We had a problem last year. I cannot honestly remember if I mentioned this last year or not, but it's worth mentioning again just because it was so much fun. Last year, when we arrived at Anthrocon, by we I mean myself and my hardworking logistics crew, we showed up at Anthrocon on Tuesday night. It was very, very late. It was 11 p.m. I was exhausted. Long drive from North Carolina. I just wanted to go to sleep, but I didn't want to go to sleep without a little assistance getting myself to the arms of Morpheus. I went to the bar, good old Bill's Burgers down there in the Westin, and I sat down. Now, this was the first year Bill's Burgers had been in operation. If you remember the original fish market, the original fish market had a wine list that had its own zip code. It was great. Bill's Burgers, lovely establishment, but their wine paragraph is not very long. Fortunately, the very, very first wine on there, everybody knows my favorite, a fine German Riesling from the Mosel Valley. It was gorgeous. I looked at it, I said, ooh, yes, that. And the waiter came over and I said, I want the German wine, the German Riesling, this one in the beginning, I must have that, bring it to me. And he, with a big smile on his face, said, oh, we're out of that. We won't have any till next week. And immediately, all of the logistics crew reached in and grabbed the silverware and took it away. So now the board of directors does this to me. Incidentally, ladies and gentlemen, I'm Uncle Kage. I don't know why, but I am. They call me a storyteller, a raconteur. I basically get up on stage and make noise with my face, typically until I have had too much drink and fall down, so I really have no idea how this show is going to end. I'm joined up here by the inimitable Foxamore, the amazing gentleman on camera. Getting here is always interesting. I am Anthrocon's chairman. Most of the things that get shipped up from our current headquarters, North Carolina, come with me. They live at my place, and then we rent a truck and bring them up here. Pardon me. This stuff does have some use after all. Typically, I don't like to drink anything that fish fart in. So we rent a truck every year. And the first year we rented a truck, it was fine. The second year we rented a truck, that was fine too. I rented a truck last year, or rather I asked for a truck to rent. And the truck rental place said, certainly we will have a cargo van for you. That's why I wanted a cargo van. So I showed up at the appointed time. Now remember, I don't like it when things go amiss, when things go not according to plan. It tends to make me edgy. the place, and I went in and I said, hello, I've rented a cargo van. And the lady said, yes, sir, it's right outside. So I went outside. Went back in. Excuse me, ma'am, I'm looking for the cargo van that I rented. She said, yes, sir, it's right outside in the lot. Okay, thank you. Ma'am, I'm sorry, I don't see it at all. And she said, it's the second one in. That's yours. This is the second one. I actually wanted a van I could drive. That's a Tonka truck. This is not going to happen. She said, well, that's all we have unless you want to rent a full-size box truck at 2.5 times the rate. Now, I'm a miser. I said, no, we will make this work. We'll make it work. Okay, if we can't fit everything, we'll ship everything else, UPS or something. We'll only put the stuff in there that we can't really get into the van. And as I was driving home in this van, I had a sense of claustrophobia. Like the ceiling was increasingly getting close to my head. And looking in the rearview mirror, I was looking at the rear doors. And as an experiment, I stopped at a light. And I reached back over the seat. And my fingers touched the rear doors. No, this is not going to work. No. So I called the rental place. I said, listen, okay, this is simply not going to work. Give me the box truck, give me whatever you have. I'm running late, I gotta get going, gotta get on the road, I don't care, I'm coming back. So I drove back. And as I pulled in, it was beginning to rain. It was starting to cloud up. However, there was a break in the clouds, and a single shaft of sunlight was shining down on this magnificent, huge, full-size, sexy Dodge cargo van. And I said, ooh. And I ran inside and I said, that van, the Dodge out there, is that promised to anybody? And she said, no. I said, well, gimme. She said, I can't. I said, why not? She said, it's not clean. I said, I'll lick the son of a bitch clean, give it to me! So I did. But it worked perfectly well, because as my loading crew can attest, we put everything in, and it could not have been better. It was like a jigsaw puzzle. The very last box slid exactly into the very last space we had. Sometimes things do work out if they're a little bit late. But it's just an example of how things come up at the last minute. And for some reason, when you're a convention chairman, this happens to you all the time. Not just when you're preparing for a convention, but in your life. I think it's a curse. There must be a curse. Because a couple of weeks ago, I was going to go to a convention, and some of you may know this, most of you do not. The front teeth that I have here actually were very badly damaged when I was a youngster. What you see here is actually porcelain. Now, it's perfectly fine, it looks natural, the only thing is I have to brush with Tidy Bowl, but other than that, literally, the day before I was to leave, one of them broke off. And it left me with this terrible, snaggly tooth, snarly gap, hideous, ugh. And I called the dentist up in tears and I said, you got it, you gotta have me, I'm coming right out, you fix. And I charged into the dentist's office, and the dentist ran out and said, what's wrong? And I said, look at this, I am about to travel internationally, and I'm going to be performing, and I cannot perform looking like this. And it's horrible, I look like a wicked witch of the West with this terrible gap tooth and snarl, you have to help? He said, where are you going? I said, England. And the dentist said, well, Anyway, he did fix it. It was very nice of him. And I went to England. And this particular visit to England was to Sunnycon's anime convention in Sunderland in the northeast of England. And this is the convention last year. And why they wanted a furry at an anime convention, I really don't know. I think it was like, oh, let us bring more furries in. Let's get this, old Yank tosser here and have him come in, and then there will be people for furries. So I don't know. So I could tell right away that in that particular fandom, I'm not exactly an A-lister. Because if you went to their website that year, they had these luminary voice actors, amazing voice actor number 1, amazing voice actor number 2. That's all it said. But if you went to the guest page, you saw amazing voice actor number 1, amazing voice actor number 2. And then if you scroll down, some American. Okay, I'm in the business, I understand. I know I'm not going to be an A-list guest out there. So I landed in the beautiful, absolutely magnificent countryside of Sunderland, which is outside of Newcastle upon Tyne. And I was picked up at the airport by a young gentleman named Ed. Ed, I don't think he's chairman, but he's a very, very highly placed member of their directorship. And I could tell that because when I saw him, he looked like me this morning. Did you see me this morning?
I think I did. You were entering your hotel room.
Looked, and my heart went out to him. I thought, oh, the poor boy. I know what he's going through. He looked haggard. He was pale. He looked like he hadn't slept in his life. So I immediately felt sympathy for him, and okay, let's try to be gentle. Let's be nice to Roy. Yes, I'm Sam Conway. Very good to meet you. And Ed graciously took my bags and he grunted. And he said something odd as we were walking out, and he wasn't really looking at anything, he was looking into another dimension. We do that. And as we were walking out, he was dragging my suitcase behind him, and he said, "You're in luck. One of the guests canceled. You won't have to bunk with the staff." I said, "Excuse me, what do you mean bunk with the staff?" And he got a look on his face that said, "Oh my God, did I say that out loud?" So he quickly changed the subject. And apparently for that day, I was the guest. Yay. So I said to him, "What do you need me to do?" And he said, "Guest things." Okay, that's a start. Like what? I mean, these people are here to see a voice actor. And he said, "Can you do any voices?" I said, "No." So in desperation, it was a room about half this size. They just kind of threw me in there and put me up on stage and said, "Do something." It started out with the 8 furries in England in the front row. I think I must have done something right because after an hour the room was full. I like Sunderland. It's in the northeast of England, on the North Sea. When I looked up the con site on Google Maps, I saw it was right on the beach. So, all right, dude, it's June, I'm going to the beach. I packed my suntan oil and my little umbrella and my beach towel and my Speedo and everything, and I was all set. And after I did my intro there, I ran back to the hotel, got myself all in my swim trunks, and I ran out onto the beach and said, "Wow, this is very much unlike Atlantic City. We don't have quite as many icebergs. And very much fewer Viking longboats coming ashore." So I did spend much of the time indoors, and with not much to do outdoors, I got to be very good friends with some of the Muckins and the Geordies over there, the wonderful folk in that part of England. And the Geordies and the Muckins. I don't know why they're called that, and I don't even know if I'm saying it right, but that's what it sounded like to me. No, they don't. So, is your mic on, by the way? Say something, is your mic on?
1, 2, yeah, my mic is totally on there.
Oh,
yeah.
his mic is on. That means I can ask him to say things.
Aye, okay.
You see, I learned some interesting phrases over there. I learned what a chav is, and I learned how to say tosser and bell end and melon and all sorts of wonderful things like that. And I was so excited. I love cultures. I mean, a chav over there is like a hooligan. It's a street punk, a thug. And I never heard the term, chav. That just sounds so cool. Chav, it says it all. And that evening, I was out on the hotel balcony and I saw some down there and said, oh my goodness, hello, excuse me, hello, are you chavs? hang on. And I ran down, oh, you are chavs. Oh, this is so exciting. Here, can I have a photo? Yeah. And they were cool, they gave me a photo. And they took my phone, and... But hey, it is fascinating. Some of the things that the British come up with. Notice I said the British, not the English. The folks who live in the British Isles. I have asked Mr. Amore over here if he would read a few phrases to you. No one in the world is more creative when he wants to put you down than a Scot. Recently, an American politician, whose name I will not mention, thank you, Kage, for that one. He went over to Scotland and he made a statement. This was just in the past few days. Just arrived in Scotland. The place is going wild over the vote. They took their country back, just like we will take America back. No games. The vote, they took their country back. Scotland didn't want to leave. So Twitter apparently exploded with replies. Anybody under 18 in the audience, I'm going to have to ask you to kindly leave or put your fingers in your ears. Parents, if you're here with your children, warn, a Scot is about to get angry. I'll be a page turner.
Okay. I apologize in advance, Mum and Dad, if you're watching this. Okay, so some of the responses to Donald Trump on Twitter from...
The unnamed politician.
From my... Yeah. Oh, come on, we know who it is.
Yeah, it was me.
These are what some of my fellow countrymen said to him. They voted to stay, you tit! Scotland voted remain, you weapons-grade plum. Who's using the family brain today? They voted in, you absolute fucking donut. This is the best one. Scotland voted to stay, you witless fucking cocksplat. Scotland voted to stay, you weasel-headed fucknugget. Scotland hates Brexit, and you mangled apricot hellbeast. Scotland voted remain, you cululous numpty.
That's not even
That's Glaswegian,
Come on, what?
Scotland voted stay, but what are facts to you? You bloviated flesh bag.
This is the best. It's got a star next to it.
You know what's good when even the Aussies like it.
Oh, by the way, Pete Smith put this together, my colleague in Australia. Thank you, Pete. Okay. Hold on to your chairs.
Scotland voted to stay. You two-paid phantom packs.
I can remember that one.
I'm so grounded.
Yep. Okay, that's it. Oh, yes, you weasel-headed fuck. No, yeah. By the way, as much as I admire the Australian education system, Pete, Scotland has one T. Sorry.
Burn. I have something else to show you here, actually.
What you got?
Yeah, the Germans actually bought this.
What is it?
I think you should.
Oh, I know
find
what
out
that
yourself.
is. Oh, this is the flag of my country. What? Hey, show some respect, you. Whoa.
Hats off, Hughes. That's respect.
Play ball. Nine. For position. Nine. Okay, when we get to the point where I'm saying, actually I can't. I don't have anything to coerce me to sing the Singaporean national anthem. Oh, by the way, that was him, not me. Did anybody go to the Ranting Griffins performance? I tried to write this down. What was it he said? He was talking about Zootopia and how how they didn't show some things about that world. What was it he said? It was like watching sloths jerk off.
How long would it take to finish?
Was that what he said?
How long would it take to finish?
What? Oh, yes, how long it takes a sloth to jerk off. When he said that, I looked at Bick to see how he would say, how long does it take for a sloth to jerk off? Jerk off. Yes, I know. How have you been feeling after your, Vic had a terrible tragedy happen in January. He was attacked by a horrible hooligan on the streets of his town and he was stabbed in the chest. And we were very, very glad that it did not hit his remarkable biceps or anything. Did you read this card? Can I see? Okay, if you wanna. Just a real quick peek. I will tell you, do you notice that the interpreters switch off periodically? I was terrified I'd get halfway through that story and I look over and Laura would be there. Thing is, if I told him I was going to do that, he'd have done that to me. You know, I was talking about Pete earlier, my buddy Pete from Australia. Pete is the chairman, head honcho, whatever the heck, of the Australian, the premier Australian furry convention, which is Convergence, or Convergence, something like that. I have been going for many years. I love Convergence, not just because it's a great con, but because it's in Australia. Australia is an adventure because everything wants to kill you. Everything wants to kill you. You cannot take a shower without box jellyfish falling from the sky. They moved to a new hotel, a beautiful new hotel, gorgeous hotel. It's on the banks of the Yarra River. Now, the Aussies make fun of the Yarra. They say it's icky and something like that. I find the Yarra picturesque. I think it's a lovely, lovely river. It's got green hills leading down to it. And this hotel was up on a bluff overlooking the Yarra. That's Y-A-R-R-A, if you need to spell it. And it had like this long set of wooden stairs, long set of wooden stairs going down to the water. So, me being a tourist, I wanted to go down and look at the water, and so I traipsed down these long wooden stairs. American, so I got to the bottom, and I'm looking, oh, this is pretty, I just have to take some photos here and everything, yeah. And as I turned to go, there was a piece of paper that had been secured with wire to the railing of the wooden stairway. And I looked at it, and it was handwritten. It said, "Warning, a 1-meter tiger snake is living under the wooden stairs. They are territorial, it will stand its ground." Isn't that nice? You know, it would have been even nicer if they put this warning at the top of the stairs. You know, just give a guy an idea what he's getting into. So I made it very carefully. The tiger snake is one of those things that it will kill you just by having you look at it. I loved Convergence this year with one tiny exception. About Saturday evening or so, I started not to feel well. My sinuses were kind of getting, I thought, uh-oh, here comes the con crew. When I woke up on Sunday, my voice was hoarse, my throat felt like I'd been gargling with rusted razor blades. I felt sort of fevered. Now, I had like an auction and 2 performances to do that day. There's, what do they call it? It's something performers get. There's the sheer adrenaline keeps you going on stage. But I'm sitting up on stage thinking, I don't know if I'm going to stay conscious. I actually felt like I was going to pass out. And I was thinking to myself, everything in Australia is trying to kill you, even the air. I somehow made it through my last performance. And I apologized to my hosts. I said, I gotta go, I'm going to bed. I'm just going to bed. So I went to bed, and I think I slept for a full 12 hours, thinking that when I wake up, everything will be fine. Everybody will be peaches and cream, it'll be all rosy. That wasn't the case. When I woke up, I was dead. Really, rigor mortis, everything, you know. Woof. So somehow I came back to life, and my hosts took me to the airport, and I thought, well, at least I'll be able to rest on the 19-hour flight across the Pacific. When I arrived in Los Angeles, I was drenched in sweat. I was totally saturated. I knew that my face was pale. I was actually having trouble seeing. I was fevered. I could barely think. And I got off the plane and I'm sort of trying to keep myself. And I looked at all these signs that said, if you show any sign of illness, you must report to a health officer immediately. I don't know what they're going to do to me if I do that. Take tissue samples and think I have Ebola or something. If I'm lucky. So I thought, okay, I know I don't have Ebola. I'm just going to play this smooth. It was hard to be smooth. And inevitably, a large uniformed gentleman stepped out in front of me and said, excuse me, sir, do you feel all right? There are times when it is an advantage to being a comic. It teaches you to think on your feet. He hit me with that challenge, and I immediately went through my little mental Rolodex of potential answers, didn't find any, so I came up with one off the cuff. I said, no, I don't. Listen to me, my boy. Never try to match shot for shot with Australian Marines. You will lose. Wastebasket full, could you slide it over? I think I'm going to need it. He said, just go on, sir, go on, move along. I told that story to some folks, and I realized what a bullet I dodged. Because I told the story to them, and one of the gentlemen who's knowledgeable about such things said, you do realize Australia doesn't have Marines, right? Next time I'll make it a rugby team, guy. But that was, it did not color my opinion at all of Australia or of Convergence. I had a grand time. I do travel a lot to go to conventions. I've been to England, I've been to Australia, I've been to Pittsburgh, yeah. And earlier this year, I went up to a cute little convention in Canada. And it's, what? Equinox or something like that. Well, the thing is, I wasn't a guest, I wasn't on the performance roster or anything. I just wanted to go because a very dear friend of mine was up going and he said, I'd like you to go. So I thought, okay, in the past, I have gone to conventions in disguise. In Germany, old Gunther showed up one year. Years ago, the unknown furry showed up with a paper bag on his head. Somebody remembers that one. So I thought, I'm going to go up there and I am going to blend in with the crowd. I shall become a typical Canadian. Gentlemen in the back, would you be kind enough to show these folks? I actually very, very carefully worked on a disguise. If you could, So that's how I showed up at the hotel. And I thought, okay, the problem is I have a very distinctive voice, distinctive accent, so I had to disguise my voice. So I would go up to various people and say, hey there, fellow Canadian, I too am a Canadian. I was just outside in the minus 2 degrees Celsius weather drinking a glass of poutine and having a hockey game in curling, eh? They tended to get it when I did that. But my favorite one, I shouldn't pick on her, she's a darling. Heather Bruton is an actual real live Canadian, like genetically. And she was at her table, and this guy went slumping up, hello, yes, I am Canadian. I like to see artwork of other Canadians, and I noticed that you're a Canadian, eh? And I thought maybe I could see some artwork from you because we are both Canadians, and that's a wonderful thing, eh? And she was smiling at me, that's good, that's nice. Yeah, that's good. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's wonderful. Yes, you can look at my art, feel free, feel free. I thought, oh, she's playing this smooth. And I started to walk away. And Sandy Schreiber was next door, and I heard behind me, Sandy saying, don't you know who that was? That was Kage. And I heard Heather say, no, it wasn't. I am good. Master of disguise. Oh, yes, I had gotten myself some Canadian voice spray, sound Canadian instantly, and that was very, very useful. I should have used it tonight. I could have done the accent even better. Well, oh, be quiet, you hoser. Traveling a lot can sometimes, there are hassles that come with travel, especially in today's, financial world. And with the internet and everything, you always have to guard your credit card number. It was last year, on my way, I was going to go to Eurofurence, or 2 years ago, actually. And I love Eurofurence. It's in Germany, and that is cool because Germany is like completely filled with German people. I love Germany. So, I used my credit card, and I made a hotel reservation in Germany. And I used my credit card to make an airplane reservation on a trip to Germany. And I used my credit card to get a rail ticket in Germany, declined. And I called them up and said, what's going on? And they said, oh, we have a fraud alert. Somebody's trying to use your card in Germany. I said, okay. Work with me here. Look at the transaction before that, and the one before that. And she said, oh, you're going to Germany. I said, nothing gets by you, does it? However, I should not have been so snide, because every once in a while something will come up that will make you eat your words, so let your words always be sweet. Because some time later, I got another phone call from the credit card company saying, hello, are you at home? Who wants to know? Talking to me, what? She says, this is your credit card company. Are you currently trying to buy $8,000 worth of shoes in Seattle? I said, lady, I don't have that many feet. Who got hold of my card? Imelda Marcos? What is this? So, you gotta go through and cancel the card and all that stuff. And, well, let that be a lesson to you. Pay in cash if you can. Unless you're paying in pounds. But, too soon? Oh, it is. All right. To the Ranting Griffin the other day, asked permission of the audience if he could tell some older stories. And I thought, if he could do it, I could do it. The reason is, Tu and I are both old. We are having senior moments. More and more. I remember the first senior moment that I had was actually about 10 years ago. That's how long I've been having them. They're all laughing. They're laughing. It'll happen again. I'm gonna laugh when it does. I got up in the morning and I went to make some breakfast for myself. I was going to have some breakfast. I was going to have some cereal and milk. That's typical American breakfast. I'm going to do that. So I went into the kitchen and I opened the refrigerator and was surprised to see a box of cereal in the refrigerator. This is odd. Odder still that I didn't see the milk.
Oh.
my age. You will.
Never.
Unless you keep giggling at me like that. Various things on your body stop working. I'm going to rephrase that crap. Oh God, I should have thought that one through. I found that I had to see a doctor because I was having some burning, tingling pain and numb spots in my arm. And this worried me greatly because this had happened to me once before. You think it's a little pinched nerve or something, but it gets to the point that it keeps you awake. The pain is intense and you're like, it's like horrible, your arm is on fire, and then all of a sudden it stops and you can't feel your arm at all. That kind of leads into a To the Ranty Griffin story, but we're not going there. So I went to see a doctor, and the doctor said, you're going to have to see a specialist. And I went to the specialist. By ambulance I went, yes. And I went to this dingy little office, a quarter the size of this stage. And this little tiny Indian gentleman came in. And what I remember most about him is he wasn't wearing gloves. Remember, he didn't gotta wear gloves. He said, come in, Mr. Conway, please sit down, please. Now tell me what the problem with the arm is. And I said, yeah, I can't feel this. It hurts here and it's all help. He said, all right, we are going to give you an electromyogram now, please. And he went over to a counter and he pulled out a needle. And there was a wire attached to it, and the wire went to an old-fashioned Victrola speaker. And I said, what are you going to do with that? He said, I'm going to trace your nose. Now, please hold very still. Ow! God damn it! Jesus, what the hell? He said, Mr. Coleman, you must hold still. I have to find the nerve. Stop it! And he kept digging around in my arm. This went on for 2 minutes, after which I confessed to planning the 9/11 attack. And finally he found a spot, and I heard a tone. What's that? He said, that is the sound of your nerve. I said, well, it sounds like it's screaming. Just like me. So he said, now, Mr. Conway, please be moving your arm. And I heard this tone change. It went, it's kind of cool. He's like, oh, yes. You can do many things with the nerves. I can play music. Do you like the Beatles? Listen. It's I am the Eggman. They are the Eggman. I am the walrus. Cuckoo-cuckoo. So I said, great. Did you find the problem? And he said, oh no, I have to try another nerve. How many nerves do I have? And he said, 43. Oh, God damn you! And he just kept dead. Blood was flying everywhere. I was sobbing. I said, stop it, please, for Christ's sake, don't do this anymore. And he said, Mr. Conway, I cannot put up with this behavior. You're being a big baby. If you do not stop this, I'm going to put a diaper on you. He said, that's good. Oh, God, no. So finally, he jabbed it in, and the tone went on. He said, now move your arm, and the tone stopped. He said, there's the problem, that one right there. I said, oh great, can you fix it? He said, oh yeah, but let's make sure it's the only one. My arm looked like kind of like Vic's chest at that point. But, too soon. He's gonna kill me. That actually didn't hurt. Oh, I'm watching the time here too. To make sure I don't go over my time. It's very rude to go over one's time. What? I not coming over yet. I could just stop right now. I pay these people by the hour. I cannot afford tip work. I remember some things of my youth. Some of you may have heard this story because it goes back a long, long way. I was a teenager. That was a long time ago.
Dinosaurs, right?
When I was a teenager, my best friend in the world was a big, fat, oafish gentleman, grand guy named Neil. And Neil and I had a Friday ritual. We would take our meager earnings from our part-time jobs, and we would go first to, you call it the comic book store, we used to call it the cultural literature store to try to fool our moms. Actually. So, we would go to the comic book store, and then we would go to our favorite bookstore. The bookstore was Jean's Books. It was like a little, hole-in-the-wall place in a shopping center. We did this for years, 2, 3 years, maybe even 4. Every Friday without fail, we went to the comic book store, and then we went to Jean's Books. And one day, after many years of patronizing this store, the lady at the counter came up to me and she said, you guys need to be careful. And I said, why? And she said, Jean thinks you're ripping him off. And I said, that's ridiculous. We're in here every single week. We always buy books. She said, yes, but you come in with a bag, and he thinks that you're shoplifting, putting things in the bag. And I said, well, that's the silliest thing I ever heard. I mean, we're probably his most loyal customers. She said, well, just watch yourself. Oh, okay, sure, whatever. So I went back. I remember it was an Ursula K. Le Guin book that I picked up and I was looking at, and I was walking toward the counter, and good old Gene suddenly came out. And he said, excuse me, may I look in that bag? This bag here? He said, yes. I said, may I ask why? He said, I just want to see what's in the bag. I said, really? That lady also has a bag. Are you going to look in her bag as well? And he said, no, just yours. I said, very well, you may look in the bag. And he looked in the bag and satisfied, he handed it back. I said, thank you. I tossed the book back to him. I said, you can have this. Neil, we're getting out of here. Let's go. We walked out. We never went back. Now, some of you may be unaware that I can sometimes be a very vindictive son of a bitch. It was 25 years later that I was back in my old hometown and I was showing around a friend. We had gone to a shopping center and I was kind of reminiscing. Oh yes, this used to be here, and yes, oh, I remember when I was here. And there on the corner, there it still was, Jean's Books. And I said to my companion, that there is Jean's Books. Now, behind us there was a little cafe. We now have these Starbucks things, coffee shop stuff. And there was an older gentleman reading a newspaper, and he heard that. He looked up and said, ah yes, Jean's Books, finest bookstore east of the Mississippi. And I said, my good man, I do beg to differ. And he said, oh, what do you mean? And I said, let me tell you a story. It's a strange thing. When I tell stories, I've never been able to understand it, but for some reason, when I tell stories, crowds start to form. That's how I wound up on this stage years ago in the first place. So I started telling people about this dreadful man, this horrible, hideous fellow that treated his greatest customers in this shabby fashion. How could he, this awful charlatan, this dreadful man? And I was getting into it, flailing my arms, the crowd was getting bigger and bigger, and I was making huge gestures, and I was in my element. And I finally said, and my friend Neil and I never again set foot into that loathsome establishment if that is the way he is going to treat his finest customers. And I took my friend's hand and said, let's go, quickly, let's go, let's go, let's go. And she was following along saying, what, why do we have to get out of here? And I said, because that old guy, that was Gene. That took me 25 years, but I felt good. Let's put it this way. The board of directors said I'm not allowed to drink on stage, but I am allowed to go off-site to a bar, and you people are between me and my alcohol. Just want to let you know.
We can take you!
I'll buy you a drink.
Thank you.
We all will.
All right.
Stay for more time.
Okay. This year is a year of change for me. I've been performing on the Anthrocon stage, and I think this is my 19th performance at an Anthrocon. The only time I didn't perform was the very first year. Since Anthrocon 1999, I have always had the friendliest of audiences. For the first time since 1999, there's an empty chair in the front row. Some of you may be aware, others may not, and if you're not, I'm sorry to break it to you this way. My dear father passed away back in January. So if you've not seen him around, I'm afraid that's why. My father was a remarkable man. He was in not the best of health as the months were going by. And that hurt him terribly. My father had always been a working man, a very independent man. And when he found that he couldn't do the things he used to do, it was difficult for him. Not that he was going to let that stop him. My mother partly made the decision to move to North Carolina, as she described, when there was a heavy snowfall at their home in Pennsylvania. And my father stood up from his chair with his oxygen tank and his oxygen tube and went to the door and picked up his hat and coat. And Mom said, "Where are you going?" He said, "I'm going to go shovel the driveway." She said, "The hell you are? You sit back down. You're not going out there. You don't know. You're not going to shovel the driveway." Dad sat down and grumbled. "Tell me that damn shovel. Shovel the driveway. You want to shovel the driveway." And he waited, biding his time, until she went to take her shower. She came out of the shower and looked outside to see my dad with a shovel in one hand, the oxygen tank in the other, carefully clearing away the snow. That's when they decided maybe it's time to move to North Carolina, where it doesn't do that a lot. And as time was going on, his strength was fading. I was visiting their house for dinner. Dad brought me a little piece of paper and it had some numbers on it. And he said, "Could you look this up on the internet?" And I went and I looked it up on the internet, and the number corresponded to a 3/8 inch brass relief valve for a hot water heater. I looked at him, I looked toward the kitchen where Mom was cooking dinner, and he said, "I'll have it delivered to my house." So it came to my house. The next time I was over for dinner, this was difficult because the heater closet is just around the corner from the kitchen. So while she was busy cooking, Dad went in and got this big pipe wrench. The pipe wrench in one hand and his oxygen tank in the other, and both of us by the kitchen like this. He opened the heater closet. Dad took a deep, very wheezy breath, and he hefted up what had to be a 40-pound pipe wrench, and he fitted it onto the old relief valve and started to pull down. Just then, she walked around the corner. Remember how I said a comic can think on his feet? I grabbed the wrench and said, "What do I do now, Dad?" "Oh, hi, Mom. Dad's teaching me how to change a relief valve." I don't think she was full. Day after he died, a son has many duties to his father. And one in particular, which I had to do, there's no way I was going to avoid it. It's a legal requirement. The deceased person must be formally identified. And I decided that, I had to do that. So I went to the funeral home and worked up my courage. And my dad was lying there, looked real good. He was lying there. And, I walked up to him, took a deep breath, and I leaned down to him, and I said, "Selfie!" No, I didn't. But it made you laugh, didn't it? And that's okay, because one thing about my father was he absolutely loved to hear other people laugh. And he did what he could to make sure everybody around him was happy, because when people around him were happy, he was happy. And of the many, many gifts that I inherited from him, I think that's the one that I treasure the most. So thanks, Dad, and thanks all of you for listening.
Ha ha.